All right. So this is a story about Facebook. It's actually posted on the Mozilla blog, and it's is Facebook activity. I'm going to read it. Is Facebook activity fucking my finances? Mozilla explains. Data brokers, and it talks about how um, when you apply for a loan and your credit score is calculated, it's not just based on your past financial history anymore. It's also based on your online activity. So anything. There are some regulations in most parts of the world that we might consider Western cultures. That's probably racist. Yeah. Anyway, places like America and the UK and Europe and whatever, Australia, perhaps. Point is that there's other places, parts of the world where they can literally use any information, and they do. And your Facebook activity is one of those things that might actually affect your credit score and whether you can get a loan for something or not, which is kind of scary. Because the other thing that the article points out is not just that your actual activity is being used here, it's your perceived activity.
Right.
So there's a lot of information which is just incorrect about you. It's all been scraped and from multiple sources and put together in a big database, and the stuff that does that is not 100% accurate. So, and again, even if it's just a small percentage, if it's like, I don't know, 2% of people have misinformation attributed to them, first of all, it's almost impossible to get that fixed. Right. Because going into the data and fixing that little tiny thing is hard. No one does it.
Right.
And second of all, how do you find out that that's the case in the first place? It's all behind the scenes, and there's no visibility for the end and the actual people. So it's a bit of a sensationalist headline, but kind of scary, I think.
Peter, you're taking me back a few weeks. It's like we're going back in time to when we were talking about data and collection. And Mike said he doesn't mind. He said, he was like, yeah, so what if they track me? What are they going to do with it? Yeah,
okay, what? I think I remember that, actually.
That's so funny.
That does ring a bell.
Yeah, and I said
about this story.
And I said, Mike, it's not about what they do now. It's about what they will do with the data.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Come on,
I guess almost like I told you so.
He's itching to just.
Oh, this is the day we've been waiting for, Peter.
Come on, this is not good.
No, this is, and it's unregulated, right? This is almost like a shadow org within Facebook is now going to be providing this data, much like China and their social, their social scoring system. Yeah. This is straight out of a Black Mirror episode.
So come on then, Mike.
That's where we live, in a Black Mirror episode. So it's not just Facebook, as I read this. It's any social media where they can capture this information. It's not new, and it's not a tech issue. It's not about the data. And she makes this point. If I'm a lender, I want to know as much about the person that I'm lending to as possible to be able to make that decision. And if I can eavesdrop on their social media to find out something that would identify them to me as a higher risk, then I would feel it's prudent for me to do that. I think the point about having a standard for measuring it makes sense. I could be totally strapped, but if I keep up with my monthly payments, I could still have a good credit score. Does that make me a good lending risk? I would argue no. I could be on Facebook saying, man, I'm going to screw all my lenders today and not pay anyone. If I'm a lender, I would want to know that. On the other hand,
but it's none of your business to know that.
I'm giving you money. Of course it is.
No. Why does you giving me money? Why should you have any insight into my personal life at all? I think that I can tell you my credit history and whether I have been.
Yeah, there you go. Have you been making payments on time?
Yeah, that's it. That's all you get.
Are you going to judge me based on my political affiliation? Are you going to judge me? Are you wait. Are you going to judge me based on unverifiable information? I'll give you an example. I could very easily sign up to, let's say, Facebook, okay, using a set, like a bunch of pictures of Peter's, right, that he uploaded to, I don't know, Twitter, we'll say. And over time, I will build this terrible profile of Peter Lowe because he doesn't have a Facebook account. And very quickly will Facebook pick up like, hey, this is Peter. He was born on, this date. And that's definitely the guy that these guys are doing background checks on for a loan. And he looks like a terrible person. But that's not Peter, right?
Which I am not, by the way.
Right,
I'm a very reliable financial source. So for anybody who wants to lend me money.
But we have that now. We have identity theft
so?
already, and people trash your credit score.
But that's not identity theft. I'm not saying identity theft. No. You're misunderstanding what I'm saying. I'm saying I can shit on Peter's life.
It's literal
fairly
identity
simply.
theft.
No, but it isn't at all. I'm not applying for a loan.
You said you're going to put a social media presence as him.
Yeah, right. That's not identity theft.
Well, it's
just
the most literally
impersonation.
it is the most literal identity theft I can even imagine.
No, identity theft is me printing out an ID and it says Peter Lowe, and I'm going to go use that ID or stealing.
That's what you did. You just did it on Facebook.
No,
guys,
not at all.
I'm not sure we should just be using me as an example. Because
Look, Peter Lowe is the least responsible person I know. Nobody should ever lend him money.
You know what's going to happen, right? This is going to get like automatically transcribed into something, put in some like indexed by some search engine, and I'm actually going to have problems getting a loan one day because of you fuckers. Sorry.
Peter Lowe's the best human I've ever met.
It's okay. John will lend you a couple
every
bucks.
Single day. What?
John will lend you a couple bucks, Peter.
Right. So I don't think let's not go off the topic too much here, but I will stand with what I'm saying. That is not identity theft. I'm impersonating a social media profile, right?
Okay, I think
I'm just pretending to be Peter.
I see, but oh God, I picked something.
I know that I can hear what I'm saying and how it sounds like identity theft, but I will hold strong.
I think maybe John is trying to say that this is like this specific term has a specific meaning, and it's to do with the fraudulent use of fake official identification.
Correct. I'm talking about
you're
like
saying
defamation.
It's the term, the theft of someone's identity via any means, which that's fair.
I guess.
Kind of is both.
But
in a way,
it's also why I say this is not a technology problem. So on one hand, yes, I want to know all that information about you so that I can decide, if I'm Peter likes real life examples, right? So if I'm a loan officer sitting in a cafe and someone comes in and throws a shake at the barista and then walks over to my office to apply for a loan, I'm going to say no. What did I get wrong?
But it's the same thing as like applying for a job. There's certain pieces of information you can't use when you're applying for a job. Like you can't use someone's age or someone's sex or gender or sex and gender or their gender or their race or whatever, because it might bias you, and you can't. It's not allowed, and there's a reason it's not allowed, because it's not fair.
And that is a
problem. Same with loans,
because it'll lead to things like redlining. I totally agree. But that's not a problem with the technology. That's a problem with the policy of the businesses.
All right.
So to flip the script on this, I'm going to just jump into the other pair of shoes and use an example.
Flip it. Sorry.
There's a meme that was circulating of this. I think it was a young girl who just got accepted to NASA as an intern or as an analyst or something entry level. And she tweeted like something about everyone can suck my balls or something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then some guy said language. And she said, suck my balls, you especially, or something along those lines. And that was like the director. Yeah, that one. Right there. And here I will agree with Mike and say that this isn't a technology problem. This is a human problem, right? This is the human error. She's oversharing, using these tools or services kind of incorrectly. And that got her fired.
You don't think so, Peter?
I mean, there's a crossover. I just feel like using someone's social media profile when considering whether you're going to give them a loan or not is bullshit. That's all.
I think it's bullshit up to a point. I'm gonna have to actually backpedal, because now that the more I think about this, the more actually logical it's becoming. Like, if someone is clearly like a far extremist whatever, and the only way to find that is through their social media profile, like, yeah, banks are probably not going to want to hand money to someone who might use that money to buy bomb material or something. I don't know. I'm just going off of the extremes here.
I still disagree. I think the only that if there is some terrorist and he's like obvious about it on Twitter, then there's probably some other evidence out there which is more reliable. And that was the credit card charge for that dirty bomb that he ordered from wherever. Maybe that's an indication that he's a terrorist, or that kind of thing. I think that the social media stuff, it's just social media. It's just it's the place you go to be yourself, or not yourself, but like you'll be unguarded and yeah. But like there's actual facts and stuff. It's all opinion. It's all people just mouthing off. It's this girl who said suck my balls. Okay, all right, she's an immature twat. Fire her because she's an immature twat, not because she said suck my balls. But they find that out anyway, right? Isn't that what probation periods are for, or evaluation periods for new staff? I don't agree that she should have been fired for that.
Huh.
Plus, she doesn't know who she's responding to, presumably. I mean,
yeah,
some random guy on Twitter says language.
On Twitter?
But
I think
depending
that
on the job,
the longer you're online, as we go into the future, our online personas, be it anonymous, pseudo-anonymous, or just you, they're gonna be more and more intertwined with your real life person.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's always been the case like that, though. I think that who you pretend to be online is a reflection of who you are, regardless of if you're outright pretending to be someone else. If you want to be anonymous, like it's just it's coming from you somehow.
Yeah,
and even let's say you fake it and try and come across as someone completely different. The fact that you're doing that tells you something about the person who's doing it. So I think yeah, absolutely, they are intertwined completely, and they definitely represent something about you yourself. But I think that these kind of judgments that affect whether you're going to get money or whether you're going to get fired from your job and important things like that should be limited to like absolute facts and not just a Twitter tweet where you're just mouthing off about something. Yeah.
So
anyway,
there's two problems, I think, because I totally agree. It shouldn't be up to the judgment of some, who knows what the motivations of the loan officer or the bank are. Maybe they, don't want to give loans to minorities. Maybe they don't want to give loans to whoever. Totally irrelevant and apart from credit rating. And that's a problem. So one, this is not a technology issue. We have the technology to do this. That maybe makes it a little bit worse, but it's a social issue. One problem is that we don't want people making these judgment calls on whatever criteria they make up. That's why we have credit scores. So I totally get that. But we have credit scores because people are assholes and did make those judgments based on their own stupid criteria. So like we talked about last time, I think you and I, Peter, every law, every rule exists because some dumbass did that thing in the first place.
Yeah.
And they're just going to keep doing it, and we'll keep having more rules. So I get why we have to have a rule that says you can only consider the credit score. At the same time, if I'm a business, I want to have as much information as I can to be able to make that decision. And as a capitalist, I am obligated to get that information if it's available, to use it if I can, to do everything I can to maximize that profit. And so I am
Okay,
going to do it,
there's-
and that's the problem.
There's limits to this. I think it's probably still a social thing, to be honest, but there's limits to what you just said. You're saying you're obligated to do everything you can to make sure that you don't, let's say, lend money to someone who's less likely to pay it back, right? Let's say you look at the credit rates for minority regions. They have a lower repayment rate, so therefore, following that logic, you would never lend to anybody there, or the interest rates would be sky high. You're saying that by law, well, not law, but like capitalism dictates that has to be the case. Capitalism is inherently racist.
Well, we've seen that. That's what redlining is. That's what created the financial collapse in 2007. Exactly those kinds of policies.
Okay. Oh, right. Okay, so what I said made sense then.
Congratulations, you got there.
I got there.
Yeah,
all right.
made perfect
sorry,
sense.
When you said
absolutely
redlining
right.
before, I didn't know that was what you were referring to. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
all right,
redlining was the practice of, if I phrase it correctly, where they would kind of like draw lines on a map and say anybody within this area either can or can't buy a house based on their color.
Right.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's no.
Should I fact
You're
check
saying,
myself
well,
all the
it's
time
just
on it?
capitalism. No, I think we could. That's true. That's true. I'm sure. Anyway, what you're saying is that there's no morals inherent, that are part of capitalism, and that's true. But there has to be rules to kind of impose limits, so that it doesn't become completely immoral. I don't know what I'm saying. I think I need to think this through a little bit longer. It just doesn't seem right. It doesn't, you're right about this, all this rules because of someone did something stupid. That's true.
I think the reason we think about it as a technology problem is because that's the only part of it we can understand and feel like we have control over.
Oh, no, but I don't even feel like we have any control over that either. So I don't know.
Well, no, I have some control, right? The article, if I'm gonna let's herd it back in. I'm gonna say,
Hold on.
Facebook is fucking with my finances. Well, I don't got a Facebook, so good luck. That's gonna return a null. You know what I mean?
You're gonna have one soon, buddy.
So
just government issued Facebook profile.
Redlining originally came from government maps created during the New Deal to identify like metropolitan areas. It came to be known as came to be used as a discriminatory practice for denying services, typically financial services, to residents of those certain areas based on race or ethnicity.
Yikes.
All right.
Yeah. So it's pretty close.
But isn't that the same sort of thing that's going to happen with social media? Bringing it back to this article as well.
Yeah,
so
and I think
people aren't going to get loans because
it's almost like blaming the map makers, right?
Well, no, it's
to blame social media
who adjusted the map. It's that, yeah.
Well, it seems like this isn't regulated. It needs to be regulated. This should not be a thing. It feels too gray to take a black or white stance. And it's inherently intertwined with politics, which makes it kind of difficult to discuss without going down a rabbit hole as we just did.
Yeah. All right.
We'll come back to it when everyone's issued their Facebook ID.
You know what I think is important here is that we have really addressed the issue in a balanced and nuanced way that has kind of cut directly to the core of the situation and really progressed things in our own way. So well done, guys. Well done.
Pat on my back.
Proud. Yeah, pat on your back. Gold star, mate. Gold star.
All right. I don't think we have another story about Facebook coming up. So look for that video about nano targeting. There's another story I saw today. I don't even think we talked about Facebook is planning a name change. So we won't launch in that topic today, but check out a video for that. In the meantime, like the video, subscribe to the channel, help keep us going.